Good morning. Welcome to our online service of the Kitsap Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. I invite you to follow along in the order of service. We will put the link into the chat section. Whomever you are and wherever you have come from, or whatever your comfort level with online or digital technology, for this hour, we here are one gathered congregation and all are welcome. My name is Bonner Sams, and I am in my second year on the worship committee and my second decade of being a member here at Kitsap Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I signed the membership book in late August of 2010, so I'm like right on cue. Our worship leader this morning is a fan favorite, our very own Reverend Jessica Starr Rockers. I would like to welcome any visitors. Please introduce yourself in the chat section. We welcome more interaction with all during our after service Zoom coffee hour. The link in our for our coffee hour will go into the chat next. You will need to use the password circle with a capital C to be admitted to the coffee hour. If you are phoning in today, welcome. If you want to join the coffee hour by phone, the phone number to call is 253-215-8782. That's 253-215-8782. The meeting ID is 438-451-134. I repeat, 438-451-134. And the password for phoning in is 8533-2070. That's 8533-2070. And FYI, Reverend Jessica will be asking those in the coffee hour this question. What do you see for the future of Unitarian Universalism? You might want to ponder this query before then. The announcements are on our webpage, www.kuuf.org, or our weekly newsletter, The Candle. We would like to start today by acknowledging that the land on which we all live is the Aboriginal territory of the Suquamish, the Sklallam, and the Skokomish people. They have lived in harmony with the lands and waterways along Washington's Central Salish Sea for thousands of years. These tribes still live here and protect the land and waters of their ancestors for future generations, as promised by the Point Elliott Treaty of 1855. Now please join Brian Kinney playing our call to worship. Where is our holy church? Number 113.
Where is our holy church? Where race and class unite as equal persons in the search for beauty, truth, and right. Where is our holy church? Where race and class unite as equal persons in the search for beauty, truth, and right.
And now it is time to light our personal chalice. So if you might want to grab a candle and a lighter to do so. The chalice lighting words come from Merlene Walker, this link between. We light this chalice flame this morning to remind us to present in this moment, this link between what was and what yet shall be. May this flame gather us in and hold us in joy and gratitude. Please join in singing our opening hymn, yet another fan favorite from the Singing the Living tradition, hymn number 188, Come, Come, Whoever You Are, which offers in its scant 20-word verse the chance to start anew, that no matter who we are, what we have been through, we can come back to this place where we can find healing, comfort, and inspiration. I challenge everyone to sing it as intended, in rounds. The lyrics will appear in the on-screen video.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of living, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come, 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 whoever you are, condemned, worshipper, whoever you're leaving, ours is no caravan of living, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, whoever you are, condemned, worshipper, whoever you're leaving, ours is no caravan of living. Come yet again, come.
We gather as a caring community, seeking life's deeper meanings. We value diversity and affirm the worth of all living things. We strive to speak truth in love, to act for justice, to grow in spirit, and to care for the earth. We celebrate with open hearts and minds the creative power that sustains and transforms us. Now it is time for our morning offering. If you would like to donate electronically, please click on the PayPal link, paypal.me link in the chat box. If a notes section appears in your PayPal account, you may enter where you want your contribution to go, or you may also email admin@kuuf.org to let us know if your donation is for the 1, the KUUF General Fund, 2, the Minister's Discretionary Fund to help our members in need, or 3, our monthly charitable giving recipient for the month of August, which is the Bremerton Backpack Brigade. You may also send a check to the address on the screen. Please write in the memo line to which of the funds your offering should go. If this is your first time at KUF, since you're our guest, there is no need to contribute. Let there be an offering to strengthen and sustain our community, which is sacred to so many of us. Please join us in singing hymn number 1058 from our Singing the Journey hymnal, also known as our teal hymnal, Be Ours a Religion.
Be ours a religion which, like sunshine, goes everywhere. Its temple, all space, its shrine, the good heart, its creed, all truth, its ritual works of love.
Okay, so now is the time for our children's story. So I invite all the children out there, the young and the young at heart, to sit a little bit closer to the screen. So I want to tell you about the Japanese art of Kinsuki. Kintsugi is the ancient art of repairing broken pottery and ceramics like plates and teacups. When something is broken or cracked, rather than throwing it away, the artist takes a sort of gold glue and mends the broken item. And then the object, the plate or the teacup, becomes a beautiful piece of art. So I want to show you a picture. Let me share the screen. Okay, so this is a piece of Kintsugi art. So the broken part of this bowl has become the most beautiful part of the object. And the story of how it broke becomes part of its history. Pretty beautiful. So, so I want to acknowledge that this comes from Japanese culture, and this Japanese philosophy actually inspires me to be a better you. As yuyus, we make agreements with one another, and when we have made mistakes, we don't throw away our relationships or throw away people. We work hard to repair what was broken. So how do we repair it? With love and with kindness. And there's actually a process that we go through when we want to repair a broken relationship. You probably know it from fighting with cousins or siblings or friends. First, we stop hurting one another. So we stop the harm. Then we name what we did wrong. We say, I'm sorry, we ask for forgiveness. And then we promise to do better in the future. And then we actually do better going forward. So later in our service, I'm going to talk about how our denomination in the past, we haven't always been kind or welcoming to Black people and Indigenous people and people of color. Well, over the years, yuyus have tried to learn, to listen, and to hear the pain of Black yuyus and yuyus of color. And sometimes we have done well at mending and healing, and sometimes we haven't done well. But it is a little bit like Kintsugi. When our chalice breaks, we work hard to mend it, because everyone is worth it. Our relationships are worth it. Our faith is worth it. So let me...
Reverend Jessica?
Yes.
Please pardon me. Is there any way that you can increase your volume on your end? Several people have mentioned that they're having a hard time hearing you.
Let me see. How's that?
Wow. Is that better? Yes.
Not all the way up.
Cool.
Is that good?
Yes. I've got a thumbs up from people.
So all it took was one button.
Nice.
Okay, much better. Oh, good. Sorry, everybody. All right, good. I'm so glad you can hear me now. So hopefully you heard everything that I just said about Kinsuki and repairing our relationships. So I'm going to show you what Liam and I did. So we attempted to do some Kinsuki. And so Kinsuki is a special art that takes a lifetime to learn how to do well. And but we tried our hand at it anyway. And so let me show you what we started with. So we started with one of these little chalices. This is actually a little terracotta pot that we turned into a chalice. We glued it together this way. And so then Liam took this hammer and Liam, do you want to hold that up? And then smashed the terracotta pots into pieces. And then we attempted to glue it back together with some gold hot glitter glue. And so we have a couple pieces that so this was our first attempt. You can see it still works. It's still a chalice. You can still use it. Then we had this. This is our second attempt. You can see it. This one turned out, I think this one turned out pretty good, considering it was all in pieces. So it's actually a really difficult thing to do, isn't it? But we got better each time. And I think this is important to remember. Though our chalice may break, we can mend it working together. And even if it doesn't turn out perfectly the first time, we can keep trying, right? And we get better every time we try. Okay, and of course, through it all, we have to let our lights shine. And I'm really glad that our volume is up now, that you can all hear our beautiful singing. If you're ready to sing along with us. Okay. So this little light of mine, we'll just start first verse. This little light of mine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Well, the next verse is building up a world. Building up a world. I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world. I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Nice job. Nice job. Thank you for singing. Thank you, everybody, for singing. Oh, so now we come to the time in our service where we share our joys and our sorrows with one another. And I am going to share the video of our joys and sorrows candles. Though we are physically distanced from one another, our hearts and our spirits remain connected. When shared together, our joys are amplified and our sorrows lessened. If you have a personal joy or sorrow to share, I invite you to put that in the chat this morning. Samantha says, I would like to hold Kirsten and Edward Laws in our hearts as they bring a new life into this world tomorrow. I'm so excited for this new life. So we all celebrate with you, Kirsten and Edward. Maya, joy for seeing my grandparents for a 3-day sleepover. Wow. Congratulations. I bet that was super fun. Bonner says, last Saturday, I lost a longtime service enthusiast to liver cancer. Nick S. will be and has already been missed. We're sharing that with you, Bonner. Lisa says, I light a candle of joy for the continuing turnout of KUUF folks and others on Friday's Vigil for Black Lives. Friday was our 9th week. How wonderful. Joey, my joy is that Beast is coming out of his shell and is starting to play more and more. Marcia, joy, my daughter Emma got married to Timothy in our yard on one of the hottest days ever, and her health held out. Yay, we're so excited for you. Congratulations. Amelia, still sad for giving away our dog, Griffin. We're sharing that with you. Liz, joy for the start of staff days to begin the new, albeit different, school year. Frank, my sorrow is the loss of my uncle this week. So sorry, Frank. Jerry, a week ago we lost our beautiful 16-year and 5-month-old cat, Jay, a deep, kind soul who we greatly miss. Jerry and Casico. Chris, that my granddaughters are here. How wonderful. Marcy has a sorrow thinking of my family who have had to evacuate their fire areas in California. Morgan has a joy that he got to watch a new cartoon show that he likes, Super Wings. Jessica has a joy for being with loving daughters. How wonderful. We share all of your joys and sorrows with you. Chris says, for all the gifts of the earth. Well, thank you everyone for sharing. May you who shared this morning feel the love of this community surrounding you and holding you close. And for all those whose joy or sorrow is too tender to share, our hearts are with you today. May the spirit of life and love bring peace to us all. Amen. And blessed be. So as we move through August, through the end of summer, I have had a bit of a sermon series, which I haven't exactly made explicit, but has been driving the themes behind worship this month. And that is to report back what I saw and heard and experienced at this year's Unitarian Universalist Association, the UUA General Assembly. And even though it was all online, it was packed full. And so I've been taking several Sundays to try to bring some of this information back to you. Last week, I spoke about the Where lecture from Naomi Klein, and next week, I'm going to unpack some of the UUA Common Read, which is the book An Indigenous People's History of the United States. But today, I want to share one of the biggest items that was on the GA agenda this year, and that is the release of the report by the UUA Commission on Institutional Change. At the New Orleans General Assembly in 2017, the UU Board of Trustees announced and chartered the commission. The charge was given to conduct an audit of the power structures and analyze systemic racism and white supremacy culture within the Unitarian Universalist Association. The completed report was released this year, just prior to the start of the pandemic. And in the wake of everything we have experienced in the last 3 years, not to mention the last few months, namely the national uprising that erupted after the murder of George Floyd and the worldwide pandemic and how it disproportionately affects the global majority, reading and taking action from this report is more critical than ever. And what a gift, really, to have it now. If we are wondering what our faith movement is calling us to do, we have a published account of how to begin. I can't name any other religion that has published a book like that, let alone right in the midst of a revolution calling for change. What a glorious thing to have people in our movement who have worked so hard to prepare us all for this moment. And you might be wondering the reason why the commission was chartered in the first place. In 2017, the UUA and our entire faith movement was experiencing a reckoning. Several things converged all at once to expose the ways that Unitarian Universalism was perpetuating white supremacist culture. And over the years, despite all the anti-racist work we had done as individuals, all the ways we had participated in and uplifted civil rights and the building of the beloved community, Black people, Indigenous people, and people of color were still experiencing harm, are still experiencing harm in our congregations and our denomination. And in fact, this experience has been so pervasive and so long denied that a focused effort had to be made to research and document these experiences. People of color in our faith movement were asked by the commission to share their stories for preservation, documentation, and as a beginning to acknowledge the impact of the harm, in the hopes that this would lay a path forward for Unitarian Universalism to become the multiracial, multicultural, multi-religious faith that it longs to be. Now we can see how this reckoning is also playing out in our larger culture. Unitarian Universalism is not unique in that way. But we are a faith that believes revelation is not sealed, which is to say, our faith is a living tradition. It is alive. We change and grow and look forward. One of our 6 sources from which we draw spiritual knowledge is the words and deeds of prophetic people, which challenge us to confront powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. When I think about what is prophetic right now, I see the image of Bree Newsom, who in 2015 climbed the flagpole at the South Carolina State House in the aftermath of the Charleston shooting and tore down the Confederate flag. That image of her perched off the side of the pole, flag in hand, was the image of a new age, one that in the last few months we have seen truly begin to come to pass. In our faith, when we witness something prophetic, we are called to name it, to honor it, and to listen to it. And that has been the Commission's work on our behalf, on behalf of all UU congregations, to witness and name and honor, and even, thank goodness, to offer us action items, ways that we can respond and grow, concrete ways that we can bring this into our congregations. But before we get to the action items, we have to sit for a while in the impact. We have to listen to the harm that has been caused. For some of us, these stories are our lived experience and they are nothing new. For others of us, we may feel we had no idea it was happening. We may experience shock and dismay and disbelief. I encourage you to read the report and fully engage with those stories. As a congregation committed to dismantling white supremacy, committed to showing up for Black lives and Black liberation and collective liberation, this is part of our good work together. Atonement, to stop the harm, to seek or extend forgiveness, to repair relationship, and to move toward reconciliation, and ultimately, in this case, reparation. In the Jewish tradition, atonement is achieved through repentance, through rituals like fasting and prayer, with the purpose of reestablishing one's relationship to God, to restore the covenant between God and his people. For Unitarian Universalists, our covenant is with one another. In our relationships, we move in and out of covenant. We pledge ourselves and then we fall short. That's part of being human. But if we are committed to being in relationship, committed to living with integrity, we must have ways of acknowledging harm, making amends, and coming back together. We must have rituals and processes of repair. So I want to invite us all into a short ritual right now, to open our minds, to open our hearts, and to consider the power of atonement, to begin to practice this process in our lives. To atone means to be at one, a collective wholeness. This is what we seek for ourselves and our families, for our world, for our faith. And to be at one, we must have honesty. To be at one, we must first have the truth. So I invite you to call to mind. We're going to start small. I invite you to call to mind in the last few days or weeks, or maybe even this morning, a time when you have not been your best self. With the ways our lives have been upended these months, made uncertain, some of us have had the rug pulled out from under us completely, and we are totally disoriented. Some of us are experiencing the sort of discomfort that makes us tired, quick to anger, quick to judgment, slow to let things go. But we can extend ourselves grace, and we can extend that to others as well. And we can seek forgiveness and offer the opportunity to begin again. So we will have a moment of silence while you call this to mind, whatever is unsettled in your heart. Take a moment for an honest appraisal. And then we will sing a litany of atonement. The words will appear on your screen. They are, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. So I invite you to take several deep breaths and ground yourself in this moment. Sometimes it helps to settle your body as much as you can. What can you let go?
for remaining silent when a single voice would have made a difference. We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For each time that our fears have made us rigid and inaccessible, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For each time we have struck out in anger without just cause, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For each time that our greed has blinded us to the needs of others, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For the selfishness that sets us apart and alone, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For falling short of the admonitions of the Spirit, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For losing sight of our unity, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For those and for so many acts, both evident and subtle, which have fueled the illusion of separateness, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
We begin again in love. May you feel the release that comes from letting go of hurt and pain. May you feel the expansive breath of grace filling your heart. What is done cannot be undone. What is done next must be done with care. Because it is important to remember that atonement is a process and not a straightforward one. Sometimes it goes round and round. Sometimes we make the same mistakes several times, seeking forgiveness over and over, extending grace and beginning again. Each time we get a little bit better. Meaningful change is hard, especially when it involves challenging entrenched systems of power and oppression. Our identities are complex. Our relationships equally so, if not more so. To remain open-hearted while hearing difficult truths or facing deeply held hurts is real spiritual work. It is the real work, not to be entered into lightly. You have to be ready and willing. But this moment in history has almost forced us to be ready and willing. Our survival is bound up with one another. It has never been more evident. We can be angry and frustrated and suspicious, or we can be brave and hold to our shared vision, knowing that the bumps along the way are nothing compared to the future that awaits us if we do not even try. The Commission's report has over 100 recommendations, actions that we can take as individuals and as a congregation to challenge systems of oppression. These actions center the most marginalized among us, but they benefit all of us. We know that when we uplift those who live on the margins, those whose experience exists at the intersections of oppressions, we uplift all of us. And I strongly encourage you to read the report in its entirety. It is available online for free. And after this homily is over, I will put the link in the chat. The Commission is encouraging congregations to use the report in creative ways. It was finished before the pandemic, but the pandemic has only laid bare its truths in even starker contrast. The time is now. And one of the most interesting recommendations is in a section titled Hospitality and Inclusion. It is called An Invitation to Conversations for Liberation. These conversations can happen in congregations, in groups, and I would love to start to facilitate some of these at KUUF. They are meant to be discussions for us to discern together how to move our faith forward toward greater justice. And the invitation lays out 3 core commitments that participants are encouraged to honor. And I am going to read them in full. They are as follows. 1, we recommit ourselves to the aspiration of a fully inclusive and anti-oppressive community. This is an essential calling that arises from our principles and theology. We recognize oppressive systems as violations of human dignity, demanding we challenge them both within and beyond our congregations. Systems of oppression hurt and dehumanize us all. We acknowledge that we are a part of the interdependent web of existence, and that none of us is truly free until we are all liberated from oppression. 2, we recenter the truth-telling that comes from voices at the margins of our faith and community. The call to spiritual maturity and growth means listening to marginalized voices and to create brave space where these truths can be held. The circle of our faith community grows wider from the margins, not from the center. We value the leadership and wisdom of people who are trans and/or non-binary, those who are disabled, people of color and indigenous people, those who are poor, and all who have historically been and continue to be in oppressed communities. And 3, we reaffirm that we must lead from the covenant of care that binds us all. We must hold each other in love and kindness, including when we do not agree. We have to take responsibility for the impacts of our voices, processes, and actions as we engage with the expectation of growth and learning. No one is disposable. No one is disposable. You are not disposable. You are a part of the covenant of care that binds us to one another. And as we widen our circle of concern, leading from the margins rather than the center, let us continue to be brave, creating brave space for one another to be fully ourselves, fully human, perfectly imperfect, and always trying. If you are interested in participating in a conversation for liberation, please reach out to me and let's get it started. Together, let us tear down our walls and fences, our protections and defenses, and get to work building a much longer table, one at which we all can sit. Let us keep moving forward because, as Aisha Hauser writes, the next call to action for racial justice has arrived. My people, Will we answer? What is at stake is the heart and soul of Unitarian Universalism. We are a people of faith that demands of us reflection, determination, and a commitment to justice. Centering the voices of the marginalized will be part of becoming whole as a faith and as a people. May we be brave. May we be whole. May we all be free.
Gonna keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Never turning back. Never turning back. Sigamos adelante, siempre adelante, siempre adelante, sin volver atrás, sin volver atrás. Gonna keep on loving boldly. Keep on loving boldly. Keep on loving boldly. Never turning back. Never turning back. Amaremos con pasión. Siempre con pasión. Siempre con pasión, sin volver atrás, sin volver atrás. Gonna reach across our borders, reach across our borders, reach across our borders. Never turning back, never turning back. Vivamos sin fronteras, siempre sin fronteras, siempre sin fronteras, sin volver atrás, sin volver atrás. Gonna reunite the family, reunite the family, reunite the family, never turning back, never turning back. Familias reunidas, siempre reunidas, siempre reunidas, sin volver atrás, sin volver atrás. Gonna keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Never turning back. Never turning back. Never turning back. Never turning back. Never turning back, never turning back.
Peace.
We love you.
So I invite you now to set an intention and choose your word for the week ahead. You can choose a word or phrase, and if you feel called to, put it in the chat, and I will read them aloud. Brave space, empathy, determined compassion and generosity, forgiveness, self-care, fun and forgive, reparations, self-forgiveness, inclusiveness, fellowship, do not follow blindly, study, read common read, freedom, breathe, let go of resentment, hope, empathy, ignore fear, thank you everyone for sharing your intentions. We have another one, strength, endure. I love how these words echo out into this space, this virtual space. May they echo in our hearts through the week ahead. Now please join in for our closing hymn. This is a beautiful, very hymny hymn, We Would Be One.
We would be one, as now we join in singing our hymn of love, to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other, to show to all a new community. We would be one in building for tomorrow a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which finds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service, with love and justice strive to make us free.
So now we'll extinguish our chalices. First, I want to thank you for being here today. I want to thank everyone for being here today. Please join us after this for coffee hour. The link and password will appear on your screen. If you're calling in on the phone, the number to call is the same number that you use to access this webinar. The meeting ID is 438-451-134, and the password is circle with a capital C. And the question for our small groups during coffee hour, we're going to be doing this in coffee hour going forward, is just posing a question that you can discuss in your small groups, or you can talk about something else if you would prefer, but we have this offering. And our question for coffee hour today is, what do you see for the future of Unitarian Universalism? So let us now extinguish our chalices, and let me close with these words from Kimberly Quinn Johnson. I invite you to grab your chalice, and Liam's going to grab our special chalice today. We are the ones we have been waiting for. We are not perfect, but we are perfectly fitted for this day. We are not without fault, but we can be honest to face our past as we chart a new future. We are the ones we have been waiting for. May we be bold and courageous to chart that new future. May we have faith in a future that is not known. We are the ones we have been waiting for. Amen. Ashe. May it be so.